suppose. I've got 7 kids. I got my first child when I was in NUS. I was 20 years old. So I had 3 children in NUS. Then I went to NIE, and I got my 4th one in NIE. Then I decided that I need to spend a lot of time, more time with my kids. So I didn't continue being a teacher after I graduated from NIE. But of course, I wasn't really home. I continued giving tuition at home. And at that time, there was 2 sessions, so I was teaching in the morning and afternoon. But I'm home with the kids in that sense. Right? Then, of course, 3 children came later. Well, whether it was planned or not, no, not planned. But they came, and I see them as joy in life, as also a trust from God to make the best of them. Being a teacher, I'm taught to build people. And so that was my aim in my bringing up of my children. I follow through some kind of a traditional way of bringing up children. So the first 7 years, in the Malay sense, they say we treasure them as if we are carrying a bowl of oil, full of oil, and you don't want to spill a single drop of the oil. Basically, that 7 years is supposed to be 7 years of situations where they are emotionally happy at all times. The next 7 years is actually disciplining years, where they are structured into moving into life, right? These 7 years are very critical in disciplining them to understand the realities of life. By that time, when they are 15 years old, as you can see, right, they are supposed to be that we have trained them enough to be able to handle various challenges in life. They are supposed to be the prime ministers, right? In the Arabic language, the prime minister is called it's an English word actually, vizier, right? Vizier. But the vizier comes from an Arabic language which means wazir. And wazir means the one who carries lots of burden. That means challenges in life, lots of challenges in life, and they are able to move. 15 to 21 years, although they are the prime minister, we as parents are the king and the queen. That means we have veto power. That means if they go out of line, right, we'll pull them back, because veto power, right? By 21 years, they are built, right, to be a business partner. Once it's in place, there's a great joy to see them grow up. So because my kids grow up in an environment where they enjoy being with each other, so they all enjoy, they want lots of children. To me, life is like that, right? We go through singlehood, we got our ways of going out here and there, friends and everything. Then we have marriage, we share our life with somebody, we think about our future and become happy, and then we plan our life together. Then we have parenthood, we have a different look at it. So it's about being selfless, it's about being doing things for others and being happy for others, to see others grow, to see people being built in your life, right? And grandparents, of course, different happy with all the grandchildren coming around, playing, giving them all the toys, going out with them.
So I just want to share 3 things with you today. Children can really feel like a liability. I'm married to this enthusiastic woman who really wanted children. And while I coped psychologically early in our marriage with that, I began to feel like children was a real possible liability. I give thanks that the first 6 years of our marriage, no children came. Then along the way, my wife started to have this wonderful idea that maybe we can adopt. In the process of adopting, it was very challenging. I decided to go along with my wife and ride upon the enthusiasm. As a doctor myself, I used to work in KK Hospital, and I see children with special needs. When I look at some of these parents who are struggling, some of them are really heroic. Some of them continue to love the idea of having children, but as a physician, it scared me. That while children are liabilities, children are also possibilities. When we first adopted my first daughter then, my wife told me, "Oh, don't worry, you will feel the emotional connection." Time went by, I felt nothing. One day, thankfully, I didn't know what to do, so I was using my little finger to try and poke at the little baby. And then my little girl reached out and grabbed my little finger, and so I was hooked. For the first time in my life, I felt an emotional connection to her. Yeah. So as parents, we need to appreciate that we have a role to mold our children, and they have a role to mold us. So don't over-invest. At the same time, Some of us don't underinvest. Love them as they are while believing that they can grow. Don't be a greedy savior. You're only a parent. And as an adoptive parent, I think that's one of the gains. As an adoptive parent, one of the very humbling things that I had to learn is no matter how much I invested in my adoptive children, there's still a certain space in their heart that I cannot access. As someone who is relatively reasonably capable, and I manage to achieve most things if I put effort, this was something that was incredibly humbling for me because I put in a lot of effort for the first time in my life, and sometimes the outcomes were challenging. On a more societal note, don't believe too much in the safe space theory. When my daughter, who was adopted, is darker skinned. So this was a darker skinned daughter who was studying in an international school. I was overseas for many years. And she struggled because of racism. Came home because she was really upset that there was no acceptance of her in the school except for other problematic children. And she told me, we really need to find a school that is safe school for her. And I took the opportunity to tell her, there's no such thing as a safe world. You're going to grow up in a world that is going to be increasingly challenging and unsafe. You need to grow to learn how to be safe for your own sake and learn to have the tenacity and the resilience to grow to be safe persons for others. Don't buy too much into this theory that the world owes you a safe space. Expectations of a totally safe world is not something that is going to be very realistic. Children need to be nurtured in reality. We need to be measured and supportive, and these are not mutually exclusive ideas.
Surrogacy is basically an arrangement where a woman is pregnant on behalf of another woman. So there are various reasons for surrogacy. So for example, it might be that the woman is infertile. Now alternatively, a woman might be unable to go through pregnancy. She can't carry the pregnancy to term. Another reason might be that she suffers from certain risks associated with pregnancy. So it's better that someone carries the pregnancy to term for her. Now, there are women who actually choose surrogacy for reasons of convenience or aesthetics. Now, there are also men who hire surrogates because they want children but not wives. So there's a Japanese man who hired Thai surrogates to have 13 children some years back. Gay men would need to hire surrogates if they wanted to have children. Now, there are various kinds of surrogates, okay? So you have your traditional surrogate where the woman provides the ovum and she's artificially inseminated, and then she is both the genetic mother of the child as well as the gestational mother. But you have the gestational surrogates where, you have a donor egg which is fertilized outside and then through IVF put in the gestational surrogate. Then there's also altruistic and commercial surrogacy. So of course for altruistic surrogacy, there's only reimbursement for your prenatal checks and your postpartum care. For commercial surrogacy, there is the surrogate gets some profit from it. Brokers are usually involved. The brokers may actually take a substantial part of the profit. Now, when we think of surrogacy, we also think of the way that different countries in the world regulate surrogacy. So, for example, if the country chooses to criminalize surrogacy, there are different parties that you can choose to criminalize. You can criminalize the brokers. You can make it a crime for the surrogates, but that's a bit cruel because usually there are certain demographics of persons who become surrogate. Then you might also criminalize your own citizens who pursue surrogacy outside. But you may choose also not criminal prohibition, but complete legalization. Then you have an in-between situation where perhaps there's just surrogacy going on. Now in Singapore, there is no legalization of surrogacy, but it's indirectly legally prohibited. In the sense that you can't go through IVF unless you're a married couple and at licensed centers. So this do not facilitate surrogacy being done here. When we think about whether we want to legalize, whether it's a viable option, you have to address the issue of the ethics of surrogacy. There are three main points relating to the ethics that I want to deal with. There is the ethics revolving around the industry. So if you have unscrupulous brokers, then
perhaps the women of certain demographics who are not consenting or who are kind of pressurized or who are enticed to do surrogacy. But there are certain things that cannot be addressed in terms of the ethics, and one is the metaphysical issue of who is more rightfully the mother of the child. So you have, is it the surrogate or the commissioning parent? And the third ethical problem, I think, is the one that is highly insurmountable and extremely important also. And it is the fact that people speak of objectification and commodification of the child as well as the woman. So surrogacy involves actually the surrogate who would, in a normal pregnancy, have formed certain maternal-fetal attachments as a result of pregnancy. But now she needs to acquire an affective isolation from, she needs to be emotionally detached from her pregnancy in that sense. There is also going through pregnancy with the intention to sever the ties immediately upon birth. There is a severance of the person who is most attached to the child actually in normal circumstances, which is the gestational mother. Then in terms of the commissioning parents, that means they are hiring a woman in order to produce this kind of effects. The well-being of the child becomes not the center of the question. One wonders whether pregnancy actually prepares a woman to be a mother and prepares the husband of the woman to be a father. So now surrogate short circuits that there's no need to go through pregnancy. So all these issues affect the child's growing up.